Hi there. It is Jason Gorber from thatshelf.com. What an absolute honor to get the chance to speak with you.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I can tell by looking at you that I'm gonna make a prediction here.
What is the prediction?
You're a movie fan, you're a music fan, you're a comic fan, and you love cars.
Big change. Not a comic fan, definitely have a car, but I'm in Toronto right now. I am absolutely in Toronto right now, which means that I come honestly from the world where Wayne's World actually came from. So I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you specifically about those two elements. I believe that there are two documentary elements in this film. Okay. One, your extraordinary work on the world of heavy metal and punk rock and what you brought to it, and your love of Stratocasters, and two, Mike's growing up in Scarborough and bringing Tim Hortons becoming Stan Mikita and Aurora, Ontario becoming Aurora, Illinois. I'm wondering if you could talk about the challenge of bringing that suburban reality to the big screen 30 years ago.
Well, I'll be really honest with you. When I read the original script and Stan Mikita's Donuts was in there, I'm like, who in the hell is Stan Mikita? But
we don't know who Tim Hortons is, so it's okay.
Oh, right, yeah. I had to really quickly become familiar with what a hero he is in Canada, you know. And people say to me, even to this day, they will argue with me about Stan Mikita's Donuts really is in Aurora, Illinois. And I will say, no, it's not. It's a set that we built down on La Brea here in Los Angeles. No, they'll argue. No, it's there. And, you know, I think one of the reasons for the success of Wayne's World is that when you're that age, that late teens, early 20s, like Mike was when he created the character, you have these really special things in life, you know, and he incorporated those into the character, and I think people can relate to that, you know.
But I'm sorry to interrupt, but I believe there's a heck of a lot more in here from you than is often given credit for. I know it was your decision to include Queen. I know it's your decision to make them headbutt. I know that there was consternation there. I want to talk about your childhood and your musical legacy that you've instilled into this film, because I think that it is underappreciated. He gets all the credit and we love him, but I want to talk about the stuff that you did to make this film a lasting classic.
Oh, shucks. That's sweet. Thank you. And I always say I want to give everybody that worked on the movie equal credit, you know, because
well, let's talk about you. It's okay. It's your turn.
But the fact is that the Bohemian Rhapsody song was a song that Mike loved as a kid, and he had that in the script when I was given the first draft. Now, the way it was shot was a decision on my part, and to use it as a title sequence was a decision on my part. So I'll take credit for that.
And will you take credit for Alice Cooper rather than Aerosmith?
Yeah, absolutely, because thank you, and you've got all the details down. Aerosmith, you know, was on the show with Mike, and
Tom Hanks.
Huh?
And Tom Hanks.
And Tom Hanks and Madonna, yeah. But he wanted to have Aerosmith in Wayne's World, but evidently, and I've heard two stories. Either they were busy on tour or they didn't want to do the movie. And I think they didn't want to do the movie. So I had been working with Alice quite a bit before that. And I suggested Alice. So yeah, I can take credit for getting Alice in there. And I think he did a fantastic job, especially with Milwaukee and all that, you know.
Well, what's remarkable for me, having just watched it again, he's the only one that hasn't aged. He looks identical.
Like, he's the only one that has a what?
Hasn't aged a day.
Oh, I know. It's the makeup.
Yeah, I'm saying Alice
Yeah.
Cooper looks like Alice Cooper and has always looked like Alice
Oh,
Cooper.
you got
Mr.
put black, you put black things
Yeah,
right here and
yeah,
all around.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
Mr.
you're right. But
Mr. Vincent Fernier may have aged, but Alice Cooper has not aged a minute, and
it's all
that's
that, it's all that golf and the fact that he is a total clean machine.
right.
He's no dope, no drugs.
Well, he got
Yeah.
that from Zappa, except he smokes a lot less than Zappa, but that's a whole nother conversation to have.
Oh yeah.
But I do want to get about your own love of music and your own love of a particular type of headbanging suburban kid, because you have spent a lot of time documenting them.
Right.
How much of that were you able to shape? What you had very intense comedic people that wanted the film to be a very certain way, and your voice had to be put there. How did you navigate all that, and how much of that stuff, when you look back on it, is really your narrative contribution, not just directorially?
Well, that's a very good and a very kind question to ask. I feel, back in the day, I didn't really get much credit for it. So I kind of got over that. But, did you ever see a movie I did called Dudes?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so do you remember a scene where Flea and John Cryer are headbanging in the car to Hava Nagila?
You're talking to a Jew, of course. Yes, of course I remember.
That's where the Bohemian Rhapsody scene
Amazing.
came from.
Yeah.
So, and as we were shooting that headbanging scene, it was difficult because we shot like all night long for 2 nights, and I was getting all these different angles, and everybody's neck was hurting, and they didn't want to do it. The actors didn't want to do it after a while. And even at one point, somebody said, I think it was Mike, this isn't funny. We shouldn't even be doing it. But it didn't feel funny to them because they were in pain. Mm-hmm. But I knew it was funny. And it became the signature scene from the film,
And again, I'm not trying to just make this totally gushing, but you frankly made one of the most successful comedies of all time. You're one of the most successful female directors of all time, because of that. Do you feel that the industry was ready for your contribution at that time, and maybe didn't give you at the time the credit for that you deserved?
Well, in retrospect, yeah, but what can I do about it? I mean, when we were shooting, there was a day when they said publicity is going to be on set today, and I thought, oh dear, go have makeup come over and fix me up, and they didn't even want to talk to me, and I felt really bad about it. And then I thought, you know what, I don't need publicity, just let me do the work, and there were a lot of times where I just felt a little backseated, you know what I mean? But what's weird is karma, because right now it's all coming back, and people like you are talking to me 30 years later, after I felt bad back then. People like you are being so kind and nice to acknowledge the movie and my work. So if you wait long enough, it all comes around, I think.
I don't want to get too off topic, but the reason I became a film critic is actually because of a movie you turned down, which is the Brady Bunch movie. What story can you tell me about you not making that movie?
Well, I had just done Wayne's World at Paramount, and they had a script called Leap of Faith. And Steve Martin started it ultimately. And I wanted to direct that movie. And it was the first time I ever walked into an executive's office and held my head high, walked in the door, and was so confident I was going to get that gig. And I didn't get it. Goldwyn didn't give it to me. And I was shocked. I'm like, dude, I just made you $183 million and you won't give me another movie? And they said, we'll give you a movie, The Brady Bunch. And I said, but I really never watched the Brady Bunch, and so I don't think I'm the right person to direct it. And then I get a call from Betty Thomas, who's was a good friend at the time. And she said, oh, I'm going to have to do the Brady Bunch. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do at Paramount? And I said, just go for it, babe, because you're funny as hell and you'll pull it off. And she did.
Like
Yeah.
literally, that's the reason I became a film critic. I saw that movie and I thought I'd be the only one in the world to jump up and down and say it's a masterpiece. Another film directed by an incredibly strong and funny woman.
Oh yeah, strong woman. Yeah, but Betty is kick ass.
Yeah.
I've been to meetings with her at the Directors Guild. You don't mess with Betty.
So very last question. Again, it's such a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Looking back on these 3 decades, the film, certain elements of the film are ageless and certain elements are aged. As you look back on who you were then, does this speak a little bit to your own adolescence? Can you now distance yourself from a film and just watch it when you watch it, if you watch it, and sort of see a little bit of your own sort of adolescence responded in this sort of suburban fable?
Well, first of all, I'm going to have to confess that I was 45 years old when I made Wayne's World.
That's what I mean. But
Yeah.
can you now see yourself as a kid now?
Oh, I see. And so when I look back, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of, we all go through ups and downs in life, and in Wayne's World, what everybody was concentrating on is staying on the upside. And that came from Lorne. Lorne said, don't ever, ever go to the dark side. Right. He said, even there was one scene he made me reshoot in the club where the taser thing that Garth uses. He said, it's the only time he ever called me and said, reshoot something. He goes, that was too aggressive. You've got to redo it. You always got to say light. And he also said, when the kid in the car was going to barf, he said, when Dana goes, if you're going to spew in here, right? So Lauren calls me up and he goes, if I see one little bit of puke, you're out. And I'm like, really? And he goes,
you made a living showing vomit in your documentary.
I know. Oh my God. You talk about vomit. What about Decline 3? Yeah. But the fact is, Lorne was the guiding hand there, where he said, never, ever cross over into the negative. And it worked. And to this day, people feel good when they watch Wayne's World.
Well, again, having just rewatched it, I would have loved the dark version. I appreciate that it's a success, but I genuinely thank you. Your nonfiction work is so extraordinary. I know you didn't quite in some ways get the chances you absolutely should have gotten, but there's absolutely fans of yours out there that recognize what you contributed here, well beyond the Comic Boys Club, and that you absolutely contributed in very, very major ways of making this a film that here we are talking about 3 decades later. So
You're
thank you
make
so
me
much.
Cry now. That was such a sweet speech. Thank you. I can't tell you how much that means to me.
No, you mean a lot to us. So thank you so much. And we're still waiting for whatever the hell you're going to do now. Keep working, girl. Okay?
I hope I can do it.
We know you can. Anyway, all the best. Enjoy your day. Take care.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Take care.
Take care.